Hello, and welcome to another video on daily weather charts. These videos diagnose the current weather pattern and discuss how it will play out for the upcoming day. Today's charts are valid for August 5th, 2023, and if you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe, and we'll get started. And we're starting today with the upper level water vapor view, and we have a couple of systems that we're watching. One that's over the eastern Illinois and Indiana vicinity, and then another system I'm going to be watching is one that's organizing over the northern and central United States. And so we're going to look at the radar for this morning. This is valid through about 10 a.m. Saturday morning. And we have a few areas of showers and thunderstorms to watch. One that is over Illinois, and that is actually as a result from what we call an MCV. And what that is a remnant low pressure system that remains from a decaying band of thunderstorms. And so that's going to serve as an impetus for additional thunderstorms developing across Illinois and Indiana this afternoon. And then we have some more storms back out in the central United States. And that is as a result from an organizing storm system that we're going to look at here in just one moment. So going to our upper air charts for today, and we're starting at 300 millibars, and that is at the top of the troposphere, and we're looking for the jet stream. And the jet stream we have a couple of different branches of it. The one branch that is over the northeastern United States, and then another branch that we're going to be watching is coming into the western interior of the United States. And then we're going to look below that at 500 millibars, and we have a short wave that is going to be organizing over the northern and central United States over here with some stronger flow rounding the base of that short wave with about 40 to 45 knots or so. And that's going to be strengthening as we go through the next couple of days. And that's going to be important as we are looking into the next couple of days with additional rounds of severe thunderstorms developing. And so we're going to look at 700 millibars. And a couple of things to point out. First thing is going to be this swirl here over Illinois and parts of the Midwest. And that is the result from that MCV that we were talking about just a moment ago. And so we have developing a pretty pronounced shortwave over the Midwestern region. And then look back to the west, we have another shortwave that's going to be organizing over the central United States. Looking at 850 millibars, we have some pretty broad cyclonic flow across the central U.S. and only about 20 to 25 knots of flow or so inside of that curvature. And so the low-level mass response is not all that significant just yet, but that's going to change as we go through the next couple of days as this system gets a little bit more organized. And then we'll look down at the surface. We have a couple different surface low pressures to look at. One that is over South Dakota, and then another one that is over Illinois, northeast of St. Louis, Missouri, and that is the MCV that we're talking about here. And so that's setting the stage for multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms. This is the day one severe weather outlook, valid for today. And we have an enhanced level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk of severe weather for southeast Colorado and for parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, and a pretty broad level 2 out of 5 slight risk that is outlooked all the way to about Memphis, Tennessee, and up into Nebraska and South Dakota. And then a second slight risk that is valid for parts of Illinois and Indiana. And then we have all modes of severe weather on tap for today with a damaging wind threat and a potential for destructive straight line winds in that black hatched area you see over Kansas, Oklahoma, and Colorado. The potential for large hail, potentially greater than 2 inches in diameter. And then also the potential for a few tornadoes in some spots, and including places like eastern Illinois, Indiana. And then another area that we're going to be watching is Nebraska and South Dakota. And then also can't rule out a couple of tornadoes in southeast Colorado. And so this is just for the day one. This is just for today. we're also going to have multiple days of severe weather that we're watching over the next couple of days. And also to note, we have a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for parts of the southeastern U.S. today, and that is just for a damaging wind threat with a few thunderstorms that develop. So we're looking at tomorrow, August 6th, and we have a broad level 2 out of 5 slight risk for parts of the Midwest, Ohio, and Tennessee valleys, with a marginal risk surrounding that. And for tomorrow, for right now, damaging winds appear to be the main threat, but we also can't rule out a couple of tornadoes for parts of the Midwest and parts of the Great Lakes region. And then as we go into Monday, day 3, we have another slight risk that extends from the northeastern U.S. down into the southern United States, including parts of Tennessee, North Alabama, and northern Georgia, and with potentially an all-hazards threat for Monday as well. And then as we go into the extended period in the day 4 to day 8 time frame, we have a day 5 outlook for parts of the Midwest. That is for Wednesday, August 9th. And as we go down to the discussion here, severe thunderstorms are likely to develop north of a warm front that is going to be situated across the region. And so since this is still pretty far out in advance, we're just going to focus on the day 1 to day 3 time frame. And then we'll talk about talk about Wednesday on a later day. So now that we've discussed where some of the areas of interest are for severe thunderstorms, I'm going to look at one of the models for the next couple of days, and I'm going to be mainly tracking the shortwave and the surface pattern, and to see how this progresses over the next couple of days. And so we're going to start with this evening, Saturday evening, and first thing to note is this shortwave that's going to be organizing over the central United States with some stronger winds flowing through the base of that trough, about 35 to 40, 45 knots or so at this point. And then we're going to look down here at the surface, and we have a couple of surface lows. Here are the 2 surface lows that we were tracking. One that is over South Dakota, and then another one that is over eastern Illinois, and going to be moving into the Ohio Valley overnight tonight. And so we're going to have additional rounds of severe thunderstorms that are going to be ongoing at this time, and we have a pretty broad reservoir of upper 60 to low 70 dew points for the next several days, as you might expect for summertime. So that's really going to help set the stage for multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms with an all-hazards threat. And so we're going to go to Sunday morning. This is about 7 a.m., just after sunrise. And we have our shortwave trough that is going through the central United States. And the winds around the base of that trough are going to be strengthening. We got about 50 knots or so by Sunday morning. And then we're going to look at the surface pattern. We have our 2 surface lows here, one that is tracking through the Midwest, can be tracking through the Midwestern U.S. And then we have another surface low that is over the Ohio Valley, and that's going to be tracking through the Great Lakes region, which is why the Storm Prediction Center has a small tornado risk outlook for parts of the Great Lakes for Sunday. And then as we go into Sunday evening, we have our shortwave that is really well defined. It's intensifying as it tracks to the east, and we have some pretty strong winds around the base of that trough. We have about 50 to 60 knots or so, and that's coming into that exit region of our jet. And so that's a sign that our trough is going to be getting into that mature phase by this point, by Sunday evening. And so we have a pretty well-defined, well-organized storm system that's going to be tracking through the Midwest Sunday evening. And we have our surface low that is over Iowa by this point. And our moisture source is pretty strong, pretty deep low-level moisture that is going to be up through the Midwest. All of that is going to create favorable conditions for severe thunderstorms for the parts of the Midwest on Sunday. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some future changes to that outlook and potential for an upgrade. But we'll see how that plays out. So as we go through Sunday and then now into Monday, the shortwave that we're tracking here begins to weaken a little bit, but still we have a pretty well-defined shortwave across the Midwest and Great Lakes region, with still some pretty strong winds flowing through the base of that trough. So a sign that we still have a pretty well-organized storm system. And then as we go into Monday, we have our surface low that is centered over northern Illinois, with a cold front that's going to be trailing down into the southern United States. And then as I scroll down here to show this, we have a pretty broad reservoir of 70-degree dew points, which is pretty ripe. Going to be pretty ripe for severe thunderstorms. And then ahead of that cold front, we have additional rounds of storms that will develop with potential for damaging winds, hail, and maybe a few tornadoes. Right now, I think the tornado threat will be maximized over parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, but we'll see how that materializes over the next couple of days. And so some things can change, and if the tornado threat does happen to ramp up for Monday, I will probably do a forecast discussion for Monday, but we'll see how that plays out. And so that's going to cover it for today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.